I'm having trouble advancing the slides. Okay. All right. I guess they go backwards. Okay. So yeah, we'll talk again about the purpose of portfolios, just some audience considerations, content assembly, layout, and design, and some logistics for creating the portfolio. A lot of this information actually comes from this blog. If you can't see it, I will put here like a link here because there's again other people that have um, tried to talk about portfolios in planning. Again, it's not something that is emphasizing all in all schools really, but I just wanted to point you to this blog written by Anne Furstead. She's at Harvard University. And they again do like more emphasis on actually like physical design and GIS as well. So this a lot of that the slides actually come from what she's saying in there. So I think that obviously part of what like I went ahead to many of the slides here. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. I think that one of the things, that you see is that depending who you ask, planning portfolios are important, right? Or maybe not as important, right? But anything that I feel that anything that can help you to get a job is something that you should do, right? So that's why let's like depart from that premise that planning for portfolios can help you. At the same time, many of you are doing a professional paper if you're like a master's student, right? So that in a way could be something that sells your work. What it sells? It says like your analytical skills, your writing skills, visual skills. If you have GIS skills as well, right? So people can see that. And at least for many of us that are academics, like myself, I didn't have a portfolio. I did have a thesis. And with that, I submit and I was looking for being in academia. People can know that I am looking to do this. And I did work in the field actually as well for 3 years, and I wasn't asked for a portfolio. And then when we asked people here in the Plan Pack, which is like our advisory group, some of them, the vast majority do not ask for portfolios. They do ask for the professional paper or some writing samples or things that you have done in your class, which many of those might be reports that you have done, for example, with like TTC or maybe in other classes. But the point being is that I just wanted to depart from the premise of that the portfolios can help you sell yourself, right? So that's why it's a good idea and it's a good practice. And so again, it just kind of like demonstrates that you can do these things, right? And urban planning is not in architecture. You see that in landscape architecture, probably more than planning, but you see a lot of people that are in marketing, for instance, and a lot of the things that they like, if you sit down in YouTube and you start to think about portfolios, you see tons of things that are about education. Like how do you engage students in the classroom? How do you create lessons? You sit down and you start to learn about just people doing like social media campaigns and so showing all the infographics, showing like who's the target market. And in planning, we do all those things as well, like who we want to involve in the community. So all those things that we think about, demographics, we can do infographics in order to show those things. So basically, you can borrow ideas from other fields as well. And but the point is that it should be visual, right? Even though you're demonstrating the writing, it's like you're going for that very visual element. And professionalism is key, right? So when you're writing, you need to show that you're being consistent in how do you write. Are you using your Oxford commas or not? Are you capitalizing things consistently? Are you using bullet points consistently? Or the semicolons and everything, right? Because it is like, how do you present yourself to the world? and they want to look and see if you are a professional, basically. So everything has to look like very nice, and that includes like how do you write besides the images, right? Like if you have like some images are too small and you cannot see, all those things like communicate your professionalism. In terms of the audiences, obviously for you guys is going to be employers. So that's like the people that you will be talking to. They're very interested in what can you do as of now and when you like graduate. What can I hire you for? That's like different than in academia. Some of you might, especially if you're in undergrad and you're looking into in a portfolio to go into landscape architecture, for instance, and doing a master's here, they want to know like how you have grown over time through all your different classes, because that will continue what is like your academic growth, and those audiences are going to be slightly um, different. So the first thing that you need to think about, even before you like start to do your portfolio, is like the structure. Well, how are you gonna do? Are you going to do something that is more like, before I went, maybe something about things that you do personally? Maybe you want to include like images or pictures. Maybe you like to draw. Maybe those are again personal things that you do. There's things that you do in the classroom, right? So a lot of the things that you will have in their portfolio is like, I took this class and I took this class and I took this class. So maybe you want to organize like again that part chronologically, like these are the classes that I took over the years, or it could be like more thematic. It could be I want to highlight my community engagements and how I did this. I want to highlight my GIS skills and this is what I did in different class. That's a little bit more complicated. I feel like the chronological in terms of like the courses or projects is a little bit better. And also think about, if I were you, I would think about what is personal, right? Volunteer work that you did, other research centers that you were involved, perhaps. What is part of a coursework? So I would lump all those things together. And then maybe if you did like again like a professional paper or project, that might be something a little bit separate. Maybe you want to think about it in terms of jobs. This is kind of my internship. This is the stuff I did there. These are my classes. This is my professional project. But you have to organize it in some way, and in some way that it does make sense, and then it followed some kind of like sequencing. And the most important thing is that you need someone to look at this. And there's some things that maybe you love and you like, and people are like, maybe this doesn't help you to tell your whole a story. So I think that that's very important. At least for those of you that are graduate students, you have been connected to an advisor that is like faculty member and also someone in the industry. So take advantage of that. And that's kind of like what Wendy has been doing, just emailing people personally, so you can share your resume, your letter, and obviously your portfolio. I keep going back here. Diversity is very important. You want to show like just different things that you can do, right? It might be plans, GIS, charts, graphs, photographs, images of, it can be creative hobbies that you have. And again, it's just like about what communicates you as a person that has different interests, and bring that into the work that you're going to be doing. The other thing is that, you need to include things that you did, right? And it's okay to include things that teams also did. But when you include things that a team did, you have to be careful of not misrepresenting that you did this map, or like you did X or Y and Z. So it's important that you distinguish between those things. What is individual work? What is like teamwork? But employers want to see teamwork, because that's a lot of what you're going to be doing in planning, working with other people. So that would be very important. For all the images, so always provide captions like project dates, what's your specific role. So just always be transparent about your contribution. In terms of like layout and design, well, guys, there's like tons of like templates out there. And I would recommend, like, I guess, InDesign, or you Affinity Publisher, you can do it in there. But I think, to be honest, like Canva is now a billion, more billions of dollars, and it's growing rapidly. And they have been, for example, acquiring a lot of these like things that are not online, like affinity publishers. So I only would think that it will become bigger and more ubiquitous in everyday work. So perhaps you want to, do it in Canva and just try to get better at that, because I see that definitely growing. But find a template or a layout that already exists and make it your own. So that's the other thing. You don't want to do something that is cookie cutter, everybody's going to have. At the same time, you don't want to start from zero and then have no margins, have like no choice of fonts, and all that. Obviously, you can change all those things, but always start from at least having some bones, and later on you can add all the meat to it. And then in terms of format and size, always choose 8 by 5 or 11 inches. This is what people print. Some of the things that you find in Canva, for instance, there are already templates that are given, are 11 by 17. 11 by 17 are very nice portfolios. Nobody prints in that. If the employers want to print it and look at it, they won't be able to. So just kind of like make sure that you always use what is the standard, as like it's just kind of like easy to reproduce. And remember that a lot of the again, employers, like the people that are hiring, they probably have 20 years plus of experience. They're going to print stuff. So you again, it's good that you have the format on selling it online, but they might print your stuff. So always make sure with your cover letters and resumes that everything looks great. And obviously, send everything in PDF formats for them. And in terms of like layout and design, just think about, again, all the fonts need to match, all the different spacing and headings, the margins, and all that stuff. I think that just kind of going backwards here. Okay. Um, Always I think about, some worthy images that you can create. Maybe it's not like a tons of things, but maybe there should be at least like one diagram that maybe you created, put a lot of effort into, that maybe showcases your visualization skills. So it's my always try to do a little bit extra, right? Like if you know GIS, can I take that into another software and try to make it a little bit better? With like Affinity Polisher, you can do that, or with like InDesign, or maybe even you can import something into Canva, like an image, and just like make something a little bit nicer, adding perhaps like some images, right? Just kind of like try to go at least one diagram, that it really like show that you put some effort and it looks like very nice visually. It's kind of like a portfolio worthy image. I think that was like it. And then I will just like open up for faculty members if they want to talk about some of the assignments I have given in class that they can think that it would be like good to include. And then after that, I also have my own. And as I said, we can look at a few portfolios from other universities, look at also like Windia's portfolio, and just kind of give ideas. So that's all I wanted to kind of like summarize about portfolios.
Oh, thank you, Evas. I can start to talk about like the final project that was in my class, how that can be useful for the portfolio making process. So maybe all of you already know that. So basically within the Plan 613, Plan Masters 2 class, we developed the state of a committee report for each of the group work for the final project. I believe that would be a really helpful kind of a material to including in the your portfolio in terms of showing your assessment skill set and also teamwork kind of a performance as well. And then for the Plan 665 plan making course, I would say we produce basically a plan document, a comprehensive plan for the community, right? I would say that would be a really important document to showcase that you have a really excellent skill set to create a long range kind of a plans. So especially on the land use perspective and your suitability assessment and also your policy framework. So all those materials can be really useful and helpful to include in your portfolio. And then if you do have a space, I would say the implementation piece is also important because oftentimes there's a planner who are really great at making skill set. But if you also can talk about maybe not have space including your portfolio, but in your interview, you can touch base on a little bit more about how can we implement those, policy action strategies will be also competitive. So that's some kind of initial thoughts. And also, if you have any question, just let us know. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you, Evas and everybody.
Yeah, thank you. See you.
Thanks to you and thanks, Evis. I'll quickly go over what I think might be helpful, and I'll keep it broad too. I know some of you are in my class right now, but we're in the very initial stages of developing products. But I know a lot of you have done engagement work, so kind of maybe pulling some images from those engagement, having a little bit of section where you talk about what kind of activity you did, even sharing the poster boards that you made and how you interacted. That could be an important addition. If there are things like you did multiple pop-ups, that could be another thing you can include because there is a lot of value on sharing your engagement results and engagement process, not just result, and kind of clarifying how you were part of that would be very helpful. I think by the time the career fair is going to be, I think it'll be kind of late for what is developed in my class. But then if there's any data that you have collected and you have some data visualization, I think we're starting to do that in my class. But think of what you've done in previous classes. That could be another good skill to show because planners really need to tell stories effectively and communicate effectively. So being able to show a story with graphics and data, that's going to be really important. Other than that, I'm kind of thinking maybe even preparing a kind of your elevator pitch, thinking what is that you want to tell your audience right now who are like the potential employers or hiring managers, right? Think about what you want to tell them. Think about what kind of job are you looking for. Maybe you're open for anything as a planner, but kind of highlight um, who you are, what kind of skill set you have, and what are your aspirations. Kind of make it quick. And then with your portfolio, you expand on what you've said, like, okay, I have this skill set. So you kind of show that skill set with your projects. Also, I think Elise mentioned like thinking about structure. When I was making my portfolio, so before coming to this, I actually opened my portfolio that I did long time ago. And at that time, we didn't really have this tools that are available right now. And when I look at it, there's so many things I wish I'd done differently. And so I think right now you have so many tools. So look at some good examples and think about what story you want to tell with your portfolio. Think about like what kind of information you want to show and try to be consistent with each project so that you have like this structure you can follow, and then you can highlight different projects, be diverse in terms of what type of projects you choose to put in your portfolio. Because each of those projects should highlight a skill you have or might tell a story of what you bring to the table to the employer, right? But think of like how you want to organize that. And once you do all that, make sure you read and look at things that you might think is obvious, but someone who's looking at it at the first time might not know what you're trying to say. So think about where those gaps might be and kind of clean it up and maybe even pass it to your peers or pass it to, your mentors and have multiple eyes looking at it. And apart from that, let me see what some skills I was thinking might be helpful to show. I think one was writing. I think Elise mentioned you might not be able to give everything, all of your writing materials in your portfolio, but you might want to look at what you put in there very carefully so that there's no typos. What you're saying makes sense. You're not saying anything that might not fit with what a planner should be, um, what our main principles are. Think about that. Think about your visuals, making sure whatever you put in is connected to what you want to say. And if you can't really see something carefully, like clearly, don't put it. You don't want text that's too small, people can't see. You could also pull some policy work that you've done, maybe not a whole like memo or a whole um, policy item, but if you've done with CU's class, I think you've probably done planned integration work, right? So even kind of graphically showing that kind of skill set might be helpful. Community engagement, like I said, will be great. If you've ever developed survey instruments and done like successful engagement through surveys, maybe showing that results might be good. Any sort of data visualization and data analysis, that's good. You could also use QR codes if you want them to look at something that's more digital and it's in a longer form in case like they're interested in you, like they can go and look at your material online. So you can always use some sort of like link or QR code in your portfolio. I think those are key points, but I'd be happy to discuss or expand on anything.
All right. Great. So we still have like about half hour. So I will do is like I will put like Windy on the spot and look at her portfolio and then see some areas for improvement and some good things that are going on. We haven't done this, so this would be kind of like a raw, evaluation of her portfolio. And then we will look at examples of like other schools as well, and then like open it up for questions. So for my I teach a class that is communications in planning, and we do homework that it is because you actually need a portfolio. And I would just kind of briefly show also this let me see where I have it, is the portfolio for the International Association of Public Participation. So the portfolio that they ask for, and this is a certification that you can do in community engagement. The certification, the portfolio that you do for them, it's not a visual portfolio. So I requested in my class, the communications in planning, that they would do this like portfolio, and this is again something that they do professionally. So basically, the portfolio is just to show that you have these skills in community engagement, and the portfolio again is not something that you would do. But I just wanted to show you also to other, faculty members, because it is about like how we find ways in the program to actually help students to think about their portfolio. So thinking about community engagement is like who are the people that you work with, like G, for instance, that could be a good contact, right? That you could think again of like who to include in those references, and that's kind of like separate from the portfolio, but it is like how as a program we identify what can help students with the portfolio. And so part of it is like, what people learn about the class, and kind of like reflections on that. You can in a way write about those things as well. It's like if there's some particular classes, because a lot of employers, like, if you took a class that maybe other people haven't taken. Those are good things that to highlight. Or maybe there's like, let's say if it's in economics, or you did like a particular analysis in that class, so maybe you want to include, kind of highlight those things that they might need. There's other things that, people hire students from Texas A&M because they also know that we have quality students, and they also know the classes that we teach. So maybe, including some of those things from classes that even alumni have taken is going to sell you as well, right? So there's a combination of things of like, what are the skills that maybe differentiate you versus like other skills, right? But then in this like particular again, portfolio that is not visual, they ask you to include what are some techniques that in that you can use in public participation. So these are things that we do in class, and sometimes other people in the field might not be as familiar with them. So if you participated, for example, in a charrette, that's something that you can bring to your work. If you have done interviews, if you have done like surveys, if you have like, oh my God, like we people love for you to do things in social media for them, and that's like a thing that, like what the planning is doing, how can we engage people in social media? You guys are going to get hired for that, right? So think about all the stuff that you have learned in techniques, maybe participating in a fair and events. You have that experience. So how can you highlight those things? So in a way, in your portfolio, if you were going to make this visual, you could use, through images, some of those things that you have done in class, right? That are techniques that outside of like the GIS and all that, it's like some techniques that obviously you have used, like workshops, work cafe. Even if you went in a field trip, those are methods that now you're familiar with. And you can make a list of what are those techniques. Maybe you have a page in where, you have all those techniques separate from all the different classes. Again, the organization is up to you. But something that, that in this portfolio they ask is like, different projects that you can highlight where you have done community engagement. Then you have like your project name, your location, your project sponsor, the time frame, the budget if applicable, what is the description of the project. These are things that you can use in order to actually talk about your different projects and kind of like organize it in a similar fashion. So again, these are just me showing other faculty members some of the things that are going on in class that we can also do to help students to create, some kind of portfolio. And again, this one wasn't visual, but then I asked students that if they wanted to, they can create a visual portfolio. So this is where we put like Windia on the spot. Thank you, Windia. So this is like, again, a portfolio that she made, and the idea was just kind of like to get something on paper about the things that she has done. So good things in here, right? And this is not with a tons of guidance, because what I said, it was just like, take that portfolio from the IAP tool and try to put it here, try to make it broader, right? So one thing that is like very important is to have like some kind of contents, right? So we have here a cover letter, resume, technical papers, and projects, right? And then here it could even have like even more of a breakdown of like, personal kinds of stuff, maybe professional project highlighted. I know that Windia work as a planner before, so you could have like professional experience here, right? Besides like maybe some of these things could be like classes. So there's different ways of how you organize that. Maybe it's like techniques that I have learned. So you could think about being even more detail on like what's the contents in order to be able to organize yourself. But it's important that, again, you start thinking about that even if before you put something in paper. The one other thing I wanted to say about just kind of like here getting started is like, if you look at the file size, it's 17 by 11. When you go to Canva, a lot of the stuff is going to throw you to do this. part of it is like they want us to sell you stuff because you can actually print it here. I don't know how much it costs to sell this, but it's quite expensive probably to have printed professional. It's like 14 pages. However, 14 pages is pretty good. That's like maybe you guys can manage a budget of printing 14 pages, maybe a few of them. That's why it's good that it's short, because like, you know, if you were going to print something that is 80 pages, each page might be $1, right? So it is becomes too expensive. But the point being is that people are not going to have access to 11 by 17. Pay attention to that. Do the 8.5 by 11. The other thing is that you could choose, and here we have like just the cover letter, right? And then the resume. Usually people will submit these things separately. So you have like, you send your cover letter and you send your resume, right? And then you send your portfolio, and that will be something additional. I don't see like anything bad about including everything in one thing, as long as like you just don't send this one thing, because employers are always looking for, did you send that thing that I was looking for, right? And they want to find it like this, and that means one document. The cover letter, they can see it attached. The resume, they see it attached, right? If this is included in an extra, that's fine, but it's not like usually you will have the 3 pieces. That's what I'm trying to say. And then so here, you know, we start the here, Windia, maybe we needed like a little bit of like an introduction to this, because like here, this is technical papers, but there's no introduction that these are technical papers, right? So think about this as a like kind of like a report. Like here's where we're entering technical papers, right? And in this case, I will actually, instead of using technical papers, I would just do this by different classes that you have taken. Why? Because a lot of the it is, you know, you're graduating now, people are kind of like familiar with our classes, and I think it makes sense to organize it that way. But it's not that this is like a bad thing, right? But it's just be easier, you know, knowing the class for this like project, so people can get a better perspective of if this is class. We know that this is for a class, right? Maybe I'm thinking that it will be more like research methods one, or you do like the population pyramids, right? And all this stuff. This is good. Like these planners, they want you to be able to do these kinds of things, right? And then obviously like the graphs and all that, you need to pay attention, obviously, that that these things are visible, right? That they look good, they're not like too small, that they look well printed. As I said, well, you cannot see the paper here, sorry. But this is 11 by 17. So what I'm guessing is that in this project, it could have been 2 pages in reality, because there's a lot of it crammed. And this is a big page, right? So you want to think about maybe organizing projects in about 2 pages on different things. The other thing is that it's good that you selected some kind of template, right? So we have like, this a template that kind of follows here, but you have to also pay attention to the alignment, right? So this is kind of a little bit off, and then also thinking about using some justified or alignment here that is justified. So you want to think about what do I want, because in other places you're not using that. Consistency is important. The employers want to know that you're consistent, right? um and the same thing with the spacing, right? So that's why you don't want like to have several boxes. You want to have one single box that keeps going, right? But that's out of design, because it depends on the software that you use, so I'm not gonna like go in there. But the point being is that it's important that all these things are consistent. But this is a good project. Again, it's important, again, with like, you know, the spacing here, here, and here. There's no spacing. The just like, I see that you use Montserrat all throughout, so that's like nice. But just kind of, guys, pay attention to those things, right? And then with the maps here, also you want to show, is it something that you created, so something that it was like done in a team, right? So those things are important. For example, Windia, this I know that is about your research project, right? But it's not that clear, right? So maybe like an additional page at the beginning saying this is my professional project, right? And where it is, the site, the images. I think that that's like important. And again, thinking about printing margin is important because these things might not print at the end. But again, you have like here different projects. And then this one is actually for a TTC project that is the Plan 661. Very good, kind of here introducing that it is about that class. Um, and then there's pictures of you doing community engagement, which is awesome. That's kind of the things that we want to see, right? But here I will put things that are also related to the things that you did in your project, your team. So again, the more that you can get to things that you did, I think that the better that would be. And then this is CU's class, right? The site planning class. And I don't know if she has seen these, but I think that these are kind of like good images. But again, it's kind of like showing this is like something that you created, that the team created. It's important to distinguish those things. This is from G's class, right? In Liberty County Comprehensive Plan.
No, I think this is still CU's class. This is
Oh, I still say use class.
the
Yeah,
plan making.
right. Yeah. And again, these are like great images. Like maybe some of them are too small, right? And
Yeah.
then maybe some of them are without a narrative. So you always want to include like what I'm looking at, what is like a little bit of text, about it as well. And this could be a different session because this is a project that you did as a planner in Sri Lanka, right? That could be its own thing. Um, and that's kind of like how it ends with projects that you have done in the past.
One
Yeah.
little
See,
suggestion.
yeah.
I would almost want to see for each project like a box on the top where you
Mhm.
show what type of, is this academic work or professional work? Is this a part of a class? So the class name, was it a teamwork, individual work? Like just a little box so that when someone looks, they clearly can tell what kind of work this is. Maybe
Yeah.
finding a consistent way in your structure or outline how you want to design that in your page. Maybe think about that so that someone doesn't have to look at everything to know whether it's part of a class or
Yeah.
professional. Yeah.
Yeah. And this, like, I will say, maybe at the beginning, and you can create your own, but this is just an example from that other non-visual portfolio. It's like, this is project number blah, right? And then kind of like the project name, you can say the course, the location, who was the sponsor, right? Like, who did you work with? It was like with like Liberty County or like, Port Arthur, City of Port Arthur, Lamar University, and the time frame, you know what I mean, of the project. And you can organize like the projects also chronologically in a way. And obviously there's no budget, so don't worry about that. But that would be something that it would be nice. See you, I don't know if you have like any comments here for Windia.
Yeah, I think this actually look good. Great work. Maybe I feel like for me, I would say if we can have a kind of quick introduction, like a more like a table content about what each project is about at the beginning of the
Oh
portfolio.
yes.
Yeah, that will be helpful because when folks actually hire in person, they'll probably have a 100 candidate, something like that. So highlight what the importance of us, right? So always that's really helpful to sell us, right? We have a great content, but how can we actually say that really clearly, really concisely about how excellent your work is will be helpful. Then that will actually see
Yeah.
yourself at the beginning of the everything already.
Right. And here I will post, because again, I didn't find that many examples of like urban planning portfolios in other places. I did find this one from Ball State University. And then these are just obviously some of the best. That's what they have them here in the front, just showing what the students did. And it's for undergrad and graduate. But let's look, because some of these ones are more like people that do urban design. I like this one that is like Megan's portfolio, and I put a link in there. So you can go to the page here. But and obviously there's some things that are, maybe this kind of changes the pages and all that. But I wanted to go to what I see you was saying is like about the project. I think that in this one, something that I liked. It was like they have the content, and in the content they have community planning, and then it has like a brief description, projects highlights, work in comprehensive planning, community engagement, and development planning. So it's kind of like a short description of it. And what CU is kind of saying is that you could have that in every single one once you go also inside of the portfolio to look at this. But then this second content is like planning research, right? So it's projects that highlight works in planning research and data analysis, right? And graphics in planning. You can organize all these things however you want. But the cool thing about it is that it's not just the title, right? Graphics in planning. It's like why I put these projects together, why they make sense in this particular bucket, right? And then I will like show you a little bit later. So this one in their big bucket, they have community planning, right? And they have projects that highlight community project. And then the projects were Imagine Lexington, Residence Guides to Development. So you have like different ones, right? And then another thing that is kind of cool with like, think always about the location and scale, right? So they have like the maps kind of like showing there, right? So if it's something in Port Arthur, and then, people even in Texas, they might not know, or maybe you're hiring somewhere else, maybe showing a little bit of scale. Where are we, right? That's something that planners need to do all the time, right? So show to your employer that you know how to take them from A, B to C, right? And then in terms of like cool things that you can include, as you can see, this student, they did some YouTube videos as part of like this like project on like Imagine Lexington. So you can include screenshots of things that you guys did. I know that at least we with TTC there's a lot of presentations. Sometimes we put them in YouTube. We have website pages that so it's kind of like you can show all those things. And obviously like in any images associated with that. So this one kind of like shows, obviously you want to highlight the um maps. There's a lot of images of people being like involved in the community, the student getting an award, right? So maybe some of you, even for TTC, you might have gotten some awards or recognitions for your work. Those are things that you can include in there. So part of it in your portfolio is like, what were the outcomes? And a lot of these things could be out of numbers, right? This many people attended to this, or like we have this kind of impact in the community in order to like kind of like quantify those things. But again, you can look at it like this one. I like it because it's like it's not someone that might be like a urban design the designer, right? But includes like very nice images, and you can look at other examples. But I wanted to leave this like last 10 minutes to actually just see if students have questions. And it could be anything that you're wondering about your classes or about portfolios in general in urban planning, career fair, anything that you want to discuss at this time.
Hello.
Yes, Janatul.
Yeah, I have a question. I have already a portfolio. It's based on architecture. So
Mm-hmm.
for planning, I will combine the planning project with this portfolio or make another portfolio for planning?
I think that if you already have a portfolio and you're an architect, I think that is definitely a plus. And I will just like include some of the other things that you have done as
Mhm.
well. And then you can include different parts. So it's like this part is like, kind of like architecture, and the other one is planning. And then in the architecture, you can have whatever you had, like the way that you organize those things, right? And then in the urban planning, you can have like a different kind of like organization.
Mhm.
But again, given that you have that background, I think that that's something that can definitely help you sell um just like your visualization skills, right? And just
Mhm.
like things that are related to that. And I'm planning employers like that, even if you end up working with like, with the city and maybe not do those things. Remember that planners work with architects a lot. If you work in a planning department, you're going to be looking at doing site reviews. You're going to be working with architects, like, looking at their stuff and giving them comments. So they will be like, yes, this person can help us with that side of things, with like approval, permitting, planning commission,
Mm.
any of those things.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hello. Um,
Yes,
yeah,
Fiona.
actually,
How you
I,
doing?
I had a, well, it's sort of a question, but I just kind of wanted to like air out my idea. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a meeting with my mentor the other day, and
Yeah.
she suggested for my portfolio that I create like a mind map, like a big whiteboard
Mm-hmm.
of everything that I've done, what
Uh-huh.
I'm working on, and what I
Okay.
wish to work on, and then, you know, connecting those to like uh, different projects that I've done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was just airing that out. So I was wondering if that's like a good idea, or if something more traditional, like a slideshow presentation, um, was better, like in a professional sense. I didn't know like how unique we could be with how we wanted to do the portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something, and again, I don't know like exactly what was the conversation that you guys had, but like the first thing that you need to do is like conceptualize your portfolio, right? So a mind map is going to be like extremely helpful to be able to see, okay, what is the stuff that I want to include in the portfolio, right? So I think that that's like something that, again, even if it's not like you include the mind map with the person, to
Mm-hmm.
for them to see it, it's like you should do a mind map of like what you have done, what you plan to do in the near future, and what are your kind of like longer terms, right? So I think that in terms of like, that's something that that advice and mentorship is like very important, right? Because sometimes we get caught in the moment and we don't think about what we want to do in the future, who we want to be, where we like to be, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like where you have been, because sometimes you might forget that you got all these other skills, right? Like if you're a master student and then you did an undergrad, maybe it was like in architecture, in sociology, whatever that might be, right? Sometimes it's like we can use some of those things that are the skills that we earned during that time, and sometimes for some reason we just kind of start with a blank slate, and that's not, we are not a blank slate just because like we just started like urban planning
Right.
just last semester. So I think that's kind of like what you should do. Try to conceptualize first how you like to organize it, what are the things that you have done, and what you like to do in the next 5 years or so. So it's more about planning, right? Planning or organizing, and keep more on the conceptual level, thinking, what do I need to do, right? That's especially for I guess like you still have time for the job, right? But you're looking for an internship soon. So it's like you still have time to keep changing and doing that, and benefiting from the reflection that you might get of like actually molding the portfolio, right? Because it's like it's something that you will work on, and the same thing with the resume, right? Something that you keep working um, for life, really. Maybe not so much the portfolio because you get lazy, but you know, the resume for sure. I hope that that kind of like answered your
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
In terms of creativity, you know, you can be as creative as you want in the sense of like, do you want to people do like website portfolios. I have seen people doing that. You could do like a navigation of like your portfolio through a video, and maybe that's less common and some people might see it weird, but people do it. And what some people think is weird, some people would think that is cool. So sometimes you just have to take risk with whatever you know you're doing. So if for some instance you wanted to include a mind map, a simplified mind map, right? um just to show people where you're going, all that, I don't see that there's an issue to be able just kind of like, you know, just show it in paper as well, you know.
Okay. So it's at least like a good place to start.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that gives me some ideas. Okay.
Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I just wanted to add a few things to that. I think I agree with Elise. It's a great place to start. So you can think of all the things you've done and also maybe identify what kind of skill set you're still looking for based on where you want to go, right? And it might be a creative, like when you said that, now I'm just brainstorming ideas with you here, but it might be a creative way to either start your portfolio if you want, or that could be your content, like table of content section, the mind map, and then
Hmm.
your little offshoots of where you're going could have like a page number and a description, like how a typical
Okay.
table of content could be, but then they can look at your mind map and then go to the project. So you can kind of feel both your creative idea of mapping, but also get the traditional like projects in your portfolio. Another like I know there are applications that make mind map as a you can use mind map to
Mm-hmm.
with visual ways to present, like your slides would be part of a mind map. So I don't know if that's the direction you want to go, but if you're just starting to look, I think it might be a good idea to integrate that in your portfolio.
Yeah, thank you. That's really interesting that you brought it up because as Evis was talking, that's actually the idea I was thinking of. So thank you. Yeah, now that it's established in my brain that that's a good idea, I think I should go forward with that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we have time for maybe one more question.
I had a question.
Yes.
So, a lot of my work is kind of in the form is of like single page deliverables, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be landscape plans, AutoCAD planting plans, things like that. But to kind of like, I guess, kind of strengthen my portfolio or make it stronger or, even larger, I'm wondering if I can incorporate papers I've done because I've also done a lot of papers too. But I'm not sure, especially when my portfolio is so visual, I'm not sure how to incorporate that work in a way that flows with the rest of, the single page kind of deliverables.
Yeah. So I mean, one example here that we might get, because like Windia had her professional paper. Where is it? Maybe it's this one page, you know. So it kind of has basically it looks like a poster basically, right? So you have like kind of like these are the methods, this is kind of like the introduction, these are the findings, And so if you could think about, and we do this in research all of the time, right? We summarize like a whole paper and make it into a poster. And in community engagement, we do exactly the same thing. If we want to tell people what this project is about, like this is like the public lands master plan, it has some images and it has like, it's basically a poster so we can start the conversation with people. So that's kind of like the way that you think about if you have like a written paper, and then the images, it might be like photographs or maps of the place, right? Those kinds of things. But think about it like it's a poster for a conversation piece, basically. And then there could be maybe G was talking about QR code. Maybe there's a code to the whole thing, right? QR code to the whole write up. And obviously you could also list in your resume the papers that you have written, which is something that we do more in academia. So like the CV is like, these are your technical reports, these are your presentations and things like that. But that's exactly what you should be doing in your resume too. These are the papers that are written, citation. And then the other thing I wanted to say is research. Like ResearchGate is very cool place where to put your stuff. So you can go to this website, and in this website, you can log in, you can upload your papers, people can cite your papers, and you can, if you don't have a DOI, which is like a unique identifying number for that piece, you can get a free DOI that is like created. And this is something actually, I don't know if like TTC does this, but if not, they should be doing that, just getting the DOIs to link it to our website and be able to people find it and cite papers. But I recommend always students to do that, because it's a way to get everything there that is like, it has unique numbers, and on Oak Trust. Yeah, that's more like the university kind of stuff. And so when you guys finish your professional papers, we're going to put them in Oak Trust so people can actually use them and cite them. But yeah, that would be another thing that you could do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank G and CU for spending Friday afternoon here with us, and to everyone that show up. And special thanks also to Windia that let us like look at her portfolio and organize this meeting for us. So thank you so much, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.